Hey, you mean every time I attended games with my kids, it was this? And they could have told us,
Right.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for coming back to another recording of Foul Ball Safety Now Talks. I'm Jordan Scott. I'm with Brianna Ludwig. We're in the beginning of February 2026. A new baseball season is upon us, coming very soon. I'm in Florida, so they'll be having spring training coming in to Florida like any time now for the next month and a half, 2 months. Also in Arizona, they do the same. Foul ball safety now started back in 2019 when I saw something very disturbing on the news. And being a baseball fan and seeing a disturbing video of, unfortunately, a child getting hit by a line drive, I was thinking, like, why isn't this finally being addressed? And why are people still bringing kids to sections that are clearly exposed? And soon after, I learned of a video which we call Exhibit A at Foul Ball Safety Now. It's an ESPN 5-minute video which was produced. And you would have thought that that 5-minute video, that horrific video that was well produced, would have certainly lit a fire under all of us to say, let's address this. There are renderings. There's plans for solutions if we just put them into motion. Just call the architects of America and they'll be like all over it, and solutions would be right here. But unfortunately, it's 6.5 years later, and those architects and those solutions have not been called upon. And I know there are solutions, so I am hopeful. But unfortunately, we're still in the dark ages 2026. But going back to how I came about Foul Ball Safety Now, I started working with Brendan. He's an investigative reporter from about 2019 and still working with him now. We started just going down all kinds of rabbit holes and learning all kinds of things that most general public baseball fans had no idea about: the legacy, about the injuries that are part of the legacy of the game, about the lack of netting that continues today, about just not being in the know at the kitchen table for all these years when we should have been told at the kitchen table, this is what you can expect when you get to the parking lot, and this is what you can expect when you go inside. Because I say that because it's not just the 30 major league ballparks that require attention, it's the 169 professional ballparks included, which is about 199 ballparks. And many of those are affiliates of the MLB, Major League Baseball's 30 teams. They all have 4 different affiliates in different cities. So that's 150 ballparks we're talking about. And people can see on the website, Foul Ball Safety Now, a tab called Unknown Modesto. Unknown Modesto clearly demonstrates that these smaller ballparks, balls do fly outside on a regular basis. It could be 10 or 15 balls moving meteors, moving landmines that, yes, they will hit the pavement. Yes, they will hit the window. And in the case of this woman, hit her in the head. I've gotten contacted by a lawyer on that particular case, and people in Modesto and all of these 169 cities should have maybe walking around with an umbrella all these years. And they've never been told that even going into the parking lot is a risky proposition. So we're following that. And just to bring everyone up to speed, it's February now, and it's great that we can continue finding new things. Every turn we take, there's a new investigation that requires more attention. To have people like Brendan, I could use a few more people like Brendan. We just want to display everything we've accumulated and let the general public decide whether all of this information should have been delivered to the kitchen table years and years ago. We go back to when a 14-year-old boy unfortunately got hit at Dodger Stadium and died a few days later, back in 1970. I also have an example of one of the 80 interviews that Brendan and I, of the people that we've interviewed, a woman, my lawyer's friend, who was 14 years old back in 1979, was blinded in one eye at Shea Stadium, and she was very kind to talk with Brendan and I. All this information, people have never been delivered. All the 100 million baseball fans have never been delivered this information at the kitchen table to make an informed decision. It's a matter of just getting caught up to speed about what the insiders know. And baseball does know to the penny for the last decade or two every ball and where it goes. And I think the general public needs to know, and baseball needs to acknowledge they've not done enough to put us all in the democratized back and forth about how business as usual should be done. The fans have never had a seat at the table. So we're producing news, we're getting receipts. People can see Queens College investigation. We got a letter back from the NCAA on letter number 5, which was good. We wrote them a direct letter. We also got a small article in the Queens College newspaper on letter number 4. A courageous student reporter from Queens College wrote about what's happening at Queens College. A student athlete contacted me from Queens College and was concerned about their balls going over the sides and hitting elementary school children. And I said, that's legitimate. But that could be the underlying feelings of all baseball players who want to just play the game free and clear. What a concept. It's the professional guys that are making the millions of dollars who may have been thinking about this 10 years ago when they were in college. They wanted to play the game free and clear, and all they may have done was told their parents to sit in certain places because that would reassure the parents of a safe experience, but they didn't go on the public address and tell everybody else. So I just want everyone to look at foul ball safety now. This is 6.5 years worth of work. This is a very exciting conversation that we're having with professionals and like-minded people that are taking the reins and leading the discussion, and inquiring minds want to know, and they're doing a great job representing those inquiring minds in these new discussions. So why don't we just bring on our guest, and we'll see where our guest takes out this conversation. Brianna, how are you today?
Doing great, Jordan. I'm so excited to dig into this important conversation. So, without further ado, I'd love to welcome our guest for the day. She is an actress, a show host, a stand up comedian, an author, a documentary filmmaker, and a podcaster herself, Wendy Stewart. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi, how are you? So happy to be here, Jordan and Brianna. This is a topic that is very near and dear to me, so I'm looking forward to this chat.
We're looking forward to you leading the discussion. Take it where you think it needs to go.
Yeah, it's something I've thought a lot about, right? When we get in a car, we put seatbelts on. We've got ads everywhere for years now to stop smoking, right? So we, as a culture, have jumped in to stop things that are unsafe. What do you think is the underlying cause or causes that nobody is blowing the whistle on this?
Yeah, it's really a matter of finally addressing what is available to the general public. And I think by doing that, they'll then have to acknowledge the years past on why they never did. It's long overdue that we finally have an honest system in baseball, have what I call and hope for is a baseball civilized society. When everyone wants to think baseball's integrity and baseball's wholesome and baseball's apple pie, I think when they learn about everything that Brendan and I have accumulated in the archives, 80 interviews, getting contacted by lawyers regarding lawsuits, and understanding that the only time we've ever been alerted to the fact about the foul ball matter, that was before we got to the game or before we got to the parking lot, was in microprint. It was on an e-ticket where you would have to see the terms and conditions. That's disrespectful, I believe. They should have always told us winter after winter after winter, here's all the information, make an informed decision. But I think once we bring everything we have to the table, I think people will question business practices from MLB.
I go with what you're saying, but let's talk about what you want to bring to the table, right? And you used a word just now talking. You said apple pie, right?
Mhm.
Baseball is American as apple pie. Do you think a lot of what people are holding on to when they become resistant to change, such as netting all these parks, right? Do you think they're becoming resistant because they don't want to upset the apple cart? Pardon the pun there.
Mhm.
They, want things to be the way they were, like, these incidents, and there've been many of them, of people being blinded, killed, hit in general, anywhere from three-year-olds all the way up to adults. It's unacceptable to people like you and me, but I think out there in the masses, there has to be a way to reach people, to get them to understand we need to have netting over and out, from the smallest little league baseball park to Dodger Stadium to Yankee Stadium. How do you think we can reach people?
Well, we're doing that right now. So you're very much involved in this long form discussion with us, and we've been doing this pretty much for the last 5, 6 months. And so that's exciting. And I think once people understand that they've been in the dark and they've had limited information, they're not gatekeepers. They're going to be open. They're going to be like, okay, guys, present what you have. The one percenters are the baseball industrial complex who don't want to disrupt the apple cart, as you said. And it's really about educating the fans. And if the fans, I have an expression, let's bring an epiphany of awareness to the fan and let them decide after we've presented. I could present a 5-minute version of what I've been doing. I could present the 45-minute version of what I was doing. Once that opportunity is received, I believe many people who take part in long form content, the PBS constituents, they're going to be like, whoa. Hey, you mean every time I attended games with my kids, it was this? Mm-hmm. And they could have told us a little bit more in other than microprint about the real risks.
Right.
Mhm. And that's really all it is. It's like I'm getting an opportunity to put together a PowerPoint for a receptive audience, and our country still has, we all hope, receptive audiences, and I'm confident that we do.
So, Jordan, how do you think is you're talking about a PowerPoint, that's
Ye
great. If you
Yep,
build it, they will come, right?
yep,
How do you
yep.
get them to come?
Well, that's exciting because now I'm meeting people in listening land. Now I'm meeting people on these type of platforms where people will stay tuned every week for updates and will stay tuned for new guests like yourself representing inquiring minds want to know. And then maybe one of those people who are a guest or eventually once the rubber hits the road with our recordings, of course I'll feel less lonely. I'm sure I'll find advocates. I'm very confident. I've been at it for 6.5 years, and it's very nice that you can come and bring the inquiry to us. That's the beginning of dialogue. It starts with the conversation. Once we present and put all on the table, then you and I can leave and look what the room is doing without us. How exciting would that be?
Well, that would be exciting, Jordan, but you know what? Once you get the ball rolling, guess what? Oh, pardon the pun again. You can
Yeah.
never leave the room because
Oh, I
you
don't
always have
mind.
to
I don't
say,
mind. I would definitely
yeah.
wanna stay, of course, but I certainly would love the enthusiasm to get ramped up with or without me, of course.
Oh, absolutely. So have you thought about, while we're talking, this
Yes.
idea did come to me. I believe a lot in celebrity endorsement. I remember Joe Namath for football, right? We were really able to shine a light on football injuries by using celebrities from the world of football. What do you think of this idea? Getting a baseball celebrity and having them become the spokesperson for what you wanna do. Don't you think that's an easy way to reach people?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. That would be wonderful. I thought of one baseball fan. His name is John Fogerty. He's an entertainer. We
Yeah,
probably all
perfect.
heard of him. So John
Mhm.
has a song called Center Field. He has that song actually in the Hall of Fame. Imagine a guy like John say something like, "Wow, I just listened to this guy or listened to this recording and I'm shocked, and I can't believe this has been business as usual, and it's still dark ages, 2025, 2026. I'm taking my song out of the Hall of Fame." That would be a major conversation starter. Why is John pulling his song from the Hall of Fame? Because maybe he believes that the Hall of Fame legacy honors should be questioned until this problem is finally addressed. That would be a interesting hook. Or a baseball fan like Ken Burns. Ken Burns, you probably know,
Absolutely.
is a
Of
big-time big
course I do, yeah.
PBS producer, and he's produced a lot of stuff on baseball, so he may be one of our next guests, and he too, if he brings an open mind after 15 minutes or 45 minutes of asking us questions, it may give him the impetus to say, "I'm signing on, Jordan. I'm even going further. I'm gonna do another PBS hour on this." Okay, wow, that would be super exciting. So, there are influencers out there. If you know any, I'm sure beyond this call, you'll be putting them together with us, with me.
Well,
So, we're excited.
absolutely. Yes,
Absolutely.
because I support what you're doing, Jordan, but,
Yeah.
lately, there's so much stuff out there trying to reach people. It's like a big mishmash, right? When I
Mhm.
think about this, I think about what is swift and easy. When we talk about celebrity endorsements,
Mhm.
then you're getting into big bucks, right? Because you gotta
Mhm.
pay people to do that. In your
Mhm.
mind, what do you think would be swift and easy as we come into baseball season to make people aware of this? Like, I know that you did something where you used planes to fly a banner, right?
Right.
Up there where people could see that. That kind
Yep.
of stuff works really well. What other ideas do you have along those lines?
All I can do is I'm one, right? And I'm putting in an investment of my time and my money to put Brianna and Brendan and Lance and more than 100 hours worth of lawyer fees. I had been to court. I'm just one guy. Now, there may be a bigger agency out there that feels this is worthy of their time. It's time to finally address this historically and present, because think about all the victims that did not get what they deserved, which was respect. And I'm not going to forget about them. Of course, I'm waiting for rendering and plans for all ballparks so Brianna knows exactly where to park the car. She knows exactly how to walk in with her baby, knows exactly where to sit, and knows exactly where to walk out and not even worry. What a concept. Today, we can't even guarantee that experience because parking in the
Or
parking lot is a risk. 10 or 15 balls are hitting the pavement or the window or the person, like in Modesto, in 3 or 4 hours. That's no way to conduct a business, having landmines
no,
and meteors coming down every, 10 or 15 of them for 3 or 4 hours.
sure,
Not acceptable, but that's the way it goes. Once general public learns that baseball doesn't have prevention for that, then people may start thinking and going down the rabbit hole. They're gonna see that baseball's had this thing called the baseball rule since 1913,
yeah,
and if you happen to be a little
yeah,
old lady walking down that street on a game day, you should have been on the other side of the street. That's what the lawyers would say. You should have known better if you got hit or hurt. I want people, of course, to be covered for their injuries, but more importantly, I don't want them to be hurt to begin with. So
of course.
it's very interesting, this whole dynamic. I believe there's mud on the legacy of the game, but I'm only bringing the awareness to you to decide whether you think there's mud on the wall or how much mud there really is. Then we know we're successful, because
Right,
unfortunately, I know too much. I think it's been disrespectful to the fan. They have never been clued in on what goes down every single season. from how many foul balls and how fast they're going. People can see something called Exhibit A1 on the website. You can retrace your steps and decide for yourself when you conclude how many hundreds of thousands of foul balls are happening in 14,000 games. It's pretty head scratching. So everyone could take their time and look at Foul Ball Safety Now and find what we've discovered.
Absolutely. So I this is a question while we're talking
Of course.
that came to mind. You know how when you go to an amusement park, there'll be
Mhm.
signage. If
Right.
you suffer from blah 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 blah,
Right.
do not
Right.
ride this ride. Or sometimes the signage, like at a country fair, those rides there,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, enter at your own risk. Why is there no even before we get to the netting, right? Because we
Sure.
know that
Sure.
netting is the big elephant in the room. Let's talk about signage. Why is there no signage in the parking lot? Signage as you enter the baseball park. Why is that?
I doubt there's too much signage in the parking lot, but if there is, better. And there is signage inside the ballpark. But the last I checked, Wendy, we're not superheroes and action figures. We're not getting out of the way. See that
Right.
5-minute video. So why aren't we told at the kitchen table? Why are we told once we get to the lot and once we get
Agreed.
inside? So that was a great question.
Now we're up to the elephant in the room. The resistance to netting seems like it's so simple, right? Full netting, not partial netting, full netting, right?
Mhm.
The resistance that you hear, oh, it may block the premium seats. Oh, it takes away the feeling of baseball. Oh, how can my kid be able to catch a foul ball if there's
Sure.
netting in the way? These are all things people are going to say. What's your comeback to that?
Brendan and I, we can find management saying things to that effect. Our fans aren't interested, our fans don't want it. But at the same time, Wendy, management also possesses the knowledge that most fans don't have, that they didn't get at the kitchen table. So that's contradiction. They're not telling
Yeah.
you everything they know anyhow. Yes, from day one, I called baseball or I compared baseball to big tobacco. They know the risks
Yes.
winter after winter after winter, and they could have told everyone, certainly since 1970, after a 14-year-old boy got struck by a ball at Dodger Stadium and died a few days later, that this is what you can expect for the 71 season. Close calls coming all the time, whizzing by you. And yes, they do hit people from time to time. That never happened. Nobody would put their child in a
Course.
situation where close calls were shaving past your ears all the time. Of course, it's going to hit something. It's going to hit the beverage. It's going to hit the chair. And in this case, it hit a 14-year-old. And then just fast forward to Dodger Stadium 2018. So this is unfortunate. This is the woman, Linda Goldblum. She was at a Dodger game with Erwin Goldblum, and she had been going, they've been partial season ticket holders at Dodger Stadium for a while, and she's up in the loge level, and she gets struck by a ball. She dies a few days later. And Erwin's been very generous with his time with us, Brendan and I. He's been part of 6 or 7 virtual press conferences experiences with us, and Jana Brody as well. She's the daughter. Very, very nice with their time with me.
Course.
She even wrote a book called Sit Behind the Nets a few years later, and
Wow.
she mentions me in her book. So that was very nice. They've been part of those experiences. We've interviewed them. But getting to the point, Mrs. Goldblum gets hit in August of 2018. It wasn't announced till 2019. How about all of those people that sat in that same seat or row in 2018 for the remainder of the year, which was September and October during the playoffs? And then when it was announced in 2019, they didn't even get the Nets up till Labor Day. So who's to know that in April, May, June, July, and August, people may have heard, or maybe they didn't hear. Did the Dodgers really go all out and inform everyone in that section? This is what happened the year before. I don't know, but we're going to try to get inquiring minds like an investigative reporter to look more
Sure.
into it. So this
Sure.
is the stuff that we want to, feed the minds of the journalists, feed the minds of the baseball fans. a lot of the people within the game, they get paychecks, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, they're not elaborating on what we want them to do. You know, they you don't wanna bite the hand that feeds them, is that expression, and the people within the
Exactly.
game. So, we're confident. People are coming at me with different ideas, but
Yeah,
what we're
yeah.
doing right now is wonderful because we're meeting PBS people and people that want to lend their names to this conversation. And whether they're heard in a month or 6 months from now, it'll be new because it hasn't been addressed. And I'll be able to give news updates. Guests will keep on coming and hearing and discovering this issue pretty much for the first time. So we're excited that we want to continue that process.
Absolutely. And I'm right there with you. I love everything you're doing about this, and I love the way you're getting it out there. Thank you, Jordan, really.
Well,
When other things happen, like with shootings and things like that, people spring into action about gun laws. You have specifically had lawsuits when people have been killed by a baseball or blinded. My question is, knowing that, why are there no laws being put into action? Is there some kind of conspiracy against having this happen? That this is like big money? They're afraid of this negativity getting out there? Where do you think, or who do you think is responsible for this?
I believe that the 99% of the fans, they're also people who are like-minded people who work within agencies, who are attorneys, who are MDs. People are who coming to us on these recordings are also baseball fans. Some of them not. Some of them just want to represent inquiring minds want to know from their particular profession. So, yes, the people within the system of the game would prefer to leave everything as is,
Yeah.
piecemeal, netting upgrades. But we want, of course, legal minds to think about why this hasn't been discussed robustly with the general public. And that's my goal. All I want to do is be reminded that my time spent on this is like putting together everything that if any journalist calls me, I'll be able to present them a whole lot that they could think about. Same similar with lawyers. It's very hard to get a representation of legal counsel if you're struck by a baseball because most states recognize this thing called the baseball rule. So even if you
Uh,
have a it's clear that you got hit by a ball and had $100,000 worth of damage, and you've definitely experienced pain and suffering. Good luck in finding an attorney in most states. I say that because attorneys aren't going to do 50 hours worth of work and not get their case heard. Personal injury lawyers, as much as we see them on TV and we may
sure.
disdain, we will like, oh, they're ambulance chasing kind of people. But there's
Yes, yeah,
also
yeah.
but there's also thoughtful personal injury lawyers. And one lawyer who I worked with, I thought was one of those thoughtful personal injury lawyers. And we went to court in Peoria, Illinois. And we were in court for about a year. And we
Wow.
made some really good, strong points, combination of why this plaintiff we had, Sandy, should feel like she should want to come back to the game because she had a big time bruise a decade earlier. And then and why the taxpayers in that particular city deserve to have the dignity of knowing going to the game that they're in the best possible position, and another combination of whatever. But it was good. We made some points. We got a major article in the St. Louis Dispatch, and we just know that their solutions are so there. There's architects
Yeah,
that can put together the renderings and the plans. Just call them ballpark by ballpark. And Brianna can know that she can go to a parking lot with her baby and go
sure.
inside and come out. What a concept. I want to make that concept reality. And I think I'm going to keep on making noise. It's good noise. I love the game. And I want integrity, real integrity in baseball, not the illusion of how it was, because a lot of people feel wonderful about the game, but they've never been affected. And then they understand that those affected don't have a place in the game anymore. They can't even find a lawyer. And this is all preventable. But, I say the same things a lot, and I don't wanna keep going on and on. We could always continue. I just wanna keep people who are listening to this that there's a call to action out there, and we can all address locally what's happening and make it right. Let's make it right. I'm excited about that idea.
I'm excited, Jordan. Let's make it right. I'm on your team, as they say.
We appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Wendy, you've spent a lifetime in various media careers, as we highlighted at the beginning of the show, and you've been a storyteller your whole career. So, do you feel this is a story that's been buried? What do you think keeps an issue like this from breaking through?
I think with baseball, a lot of people that are baseball fans want things the way they were. We have a world that's moving really quickly right now with AI and everything else. Baseball, of course, gives them a thing to hang on to that, it's not a technical thing, right? The world is filled with technical things. So how do we take the warm and fuzzy feeling they get, right, from watching a baseball game and get them to understand that they are in an unsafe situation. Very important.
All right. Terrific, guys. We really appreciate having you on, Wendy, and we look forward to doing this again soon.
Thank
And we're
you.
excited that people will hear these recordings. And Brianna, thanks as always, and we'll do it again soon.